All right, in this assignment, two connecting parts, you're supposed to design two parts that fit together. The idea is to design them first on paper. I'm going to show you how you would model them in Inventor. So let's go to File, New, Part. Start Sketch. Click on the XY plane. Select the rectangle tool. Go to the origin. Click. Drag. Click. Go ahead and put your dimensions on. I'm going to put on a 2-inch by, let's say, a 1.5-inch dimension. Click on the word front to recenter. Draw a rectangle inside. The dimension across here, this is the critical dimension. This should be 0.13 inches approximately. That's the thickness of the wood. This dimension right here can be whatever you want. I'll make it 1 inch. A lot of people are asking me, how do you put this in the center? Well, you need dimensions to put it in the center. You can see that dotted line right there. Sometimes Inventor tries to center things for you. I'm going to find the center with a point. I'm going to use a point. And if you go across a line, it'll turn green when it hits the center. So I'm going to drop a point in, and then I'm going to dimension from this point to this line and from this point to this line. So I'll hit dimension, center, line, and then, so it's hard to get this dimension. Usually people end up getting the vertical dimension. Actually, I'm going to do that again. When people click dimension, and then if you click on the corner, you could be dimensioning vertically or horizontally, depending on where you put your cursor. So if you're trying to locate this line, it's best to click dimension and say, I want to set the dimension from this point to this line. And then you'll get a horizontal dimension. And that number should be half the thickness of the slot, 0.13 divided by 2, which is a small number. And now, if I try to put on the other dimension on the other side, it'll actually be determined already. It has to be, I'm going to hit accept, it has to be 0.065 because together they need to add up to 0.13. Now, vertically, there is no location yet. Okay. So there's a couple different ways you could do this. I'll go ahead and I'll do that point thing again, and I'll find the center of that point. I'm sorry, of that side. If you're not sure if it's in the center, you could always dimension it to the corner, and you should get exactly half your height. Right now, I can use that point to dimension the top and bottom. So we'll hit dimension. We'll say, hey, the dimension from this point to this line needs to be exactly half of my height, which is 1.0. So 1.0 divided by 2 is 0.5. And now it's exactly in the center. You can notice it turned black. If I put on the bottom dimension, let's try that again. From this point to this point, sorry, my dimension tool wasn't on. From this point to this point, vertically, it's 0.5. There it is. And it has to be because together, 0.5 plus 0.5 adds up to 1.0. Escape, escape. When you're moving a dimension, make sure your dimension tool is off. There you go. That's how you center the hole. And now I could draw the other part using my line tool, and I would just line up the bottom, because why not make it lined up already with the other piece? If it's going to fit into that piece, might as well make everything match in terms of the height of the piece. It can be as wide as you want, but you want the height to be the same so it's flush. Now, you can test your constraints by dragging. Right? If you drag and it loses its shape, then you might have to throw in some vertical and horizontal constraints. I'm going to horizontally constrain this point to this point and this point to this point so that my tab is just as big as my hole, my slot. And I'll horizontally constrain the bottom to the bottom of this one and the top to the top of this one. So I'm basically reusing all of these, well, a lot of these dimensions, right? It's still 2 inches tall. And this slot is going to be exactly 1 inch, right? So I'm making sure that it fits. Now there's some parts that are blue, right? I haven't determined how big that tab is going to be. Well, I actually want this tab to go through the other piece of wood, which is not a lot. So this dimension only needs to be 0.13. The height of the whole piece is 2. The width of the piece can be anything I want. This number could be, it could be 3. And that it doesn't really matter. This little tab is all that's going to insert into this piece right there. I'm just going to keep it small. So let's make it a little bit bigger. We'll go 1.5 and reuse it for the next video. Okay. If you're wondering why it's blue, okay, well, the shape is set, right? The size is determined. Nothing is moving when I drag it. It maintains its shape. So that means that the piece is all set. The reason why it's not black is because I haven't dimensioned its location in space. So if I set a dimension to the origin, now it turns black. And I'm ready to laser cut. So finish sketch, right? And then we'll create a drawing file and then export this to the laser.